Hey everybody, just want to go ahead and talk about a low and severe risk that's been added to our area for tomorrow. So obviously we have the storm system that's rolling in tomorrow. It's kind of the first of a few storm systems that are going to roll on through this week, and a few storm chances, I should say, coming up this week. So first of all, let's take a look at what's going on right now. We'll give a few people a few seconds to hop on in here. But for right now, I mean, for a Monday, this is pretty nice, right? We got a lot of sunshine out there, just some high clouds going around, so we don't have really too much to worry about for the moment, um, until we start to get through later tonight, when we start to see some rain start to roll into our area. So over near Effingham, Illinois, you can see a few showers trying to get into our area, but it's going to take a little bit because we have a lot of sunshine and we got a lot of dry air. That's why it feels so nice outside. And why, again, we have so much sunshine. So temps today should end up right back into the upper 50s again, which, by the way, is where we should be for this time of the year. But I wanted to come on here because as I was looking at data this morning, some data was hinting on just a little bit of a chance for a couple strong storms potentially for tomorrow night. So give it a couple minutes, some people in here. Hit share, get it out to your friends and family. Let them know that we got some storm chances rolling on in here. This time of the year, it's not unheard of for us to get some severe weather. Even though this is a low end risk for now, we didn't have a severe threat this morning when Jude was on air. So if you're taking lunch, you're at work, that's the newest updates. We do have a low and severe risk for tonight. So stop and say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. We'll go ahead and get started. So we got a lot of sunshine around our area right now, as we talked about, and that's because we just don't have a lot going on. Our next storm system is way back to our west. This is the one that's arriving tomorrow. For the moment, it is over like Denver, right around Colorado, and you can see it spinning around, bringing up a good amount of rain through South Dakota, through Rapid City, even over through parts of Omaha. So that's the low that's going to bring us our first storm system tomorrow. It's not the only one this week. The one back to the left of, or to the west of, excuse me, that one is rolling into our area Thursday and into Friday. So that's going to be the next one that starts to roll its way on in. But for now, we're focused mainly on the one that's over Denver. First of all, what do you have to have for severe weather? You've probably seen this before, and I'll get out of the way so you can see it's a little easier. You have to have instability. That usually comes with warmth and with high dew points. So when we talk about fall, it is a little different. It's not incredibly different. You still need all three of these, but to the level of what you need is different, because during fall, you're not going to get 90 degrees dew points in the mid 70s. Odds are that's not going to happen. It's not impossible, but it's not likely. This time of the year, anything like into the 60s, low 70s would be sufficient enough. So you need warmth, you need dew points, at least above around 60 or so. You need wind shear. That hasn't changed. You need strong wind energy. And typically what we look for is about a mile above the ground, we want around like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And the reason why we want that is that will help separate your updraft and your downdraft from the storm. We'll get to that here in a minute. And you need forcing. You need something to fire the storms. A cold front or a warm front, something like that, which we will have heading into our area tomorrow. So keep those three in mind, and let's get into it. So first of all, the rest of the day, you don't have to worry about much. You got some lunch plans today, you're good to go. You got plans after work today, you're good to go. I know it's a Monday, but it doesn't really look like a Monday. It's not gloom and doom and all that mess. It's kind of depressing, right? Today's actually pretty nice. We're getting back up in the upper 50s. You have evening plans, dinner plans, you're good to go. As we head into tonight, clouds are going to start to increase across our area once again. That's going to be the first thing you'll notice, but you may not even not, because sunset's so early now. Sunset's at like 5:24 or something crazy, right? So rain will start rolling into our area mainly after midnight, and really it's going to be after around like 1 to 2 o'clock or so. Most of us are asleep. Not everyone sees this. It's only about a 30% chance for the overnight hours tonight. By the time we get closer to quote unquote daybreak, now when I say that, I don't mean sunrise. I mean when people are getting up and ready to go to work. Here's 7:30 when the sun is beginning to come up. We got a few scattered downpours around our area. So the morning commute tomorrow might have some downpours, but I think the afternoon commute tomorrow will be a lot more impacted from this weather that we're about to talk about than tomorrow morning. So heading through tomorrow morning, some scattered downpours. And I want you to watch that warm front. that's there on your screen and over here next to me. Watch this warm front, because wherever this warm front ends up is going to be really important, because anywhere south of that warm front means that, hence the name warm front, you're going to be warmer. You're going to have higher dew points, which means you have at least a little bit of a better atmosphere, susceptible for some storms. North of it, much cooler. And I think tomorrow, depending on where you are in our area, is going to be really important because of this warm front. So rain transitions over to more widespread heavy downpours, maybe a couple thunderstorms in there, mid-morning into early afternoon. That's kind of the first wave and what a lot of data is showing. And you see that warm front's creeping up closer and closer and closer to Louisville. And of course, Louisville's smack dab in the middle of our viewing area, which happens to be where this warm front's trying to set up. So when we talk about our severe chance, even though it's low here in a minute, it's going to come down to where that ends up. So again, it's on and off, a lot of heavy rains rolling in on this. These are kind of gully washers. If you have leaves in your yard, you're going to have them in your gutter too. Okay. I'm one of them. When you get all these leaves in your gutter, if you haven't cleared them out yet, you may want to clear them out today. Today's a perfect opportunity for it. Rosemary McFarland on Facebook says, nice day to rake leaves. That's exactly my point, Rosemary. She makes a great point here. Your gutters are going to be overflowing tomorrow if you haven't got out and cleared some of those leaves out. That's beside the point, because we're going to have some heavy rain in this. So you'll see that warm front tries to creep up northward toward Louisville. And I think at some point tomorrow, we may have temperatures across our area tomorrow afternoon that are like 20-degree differences. Because, look at the temperature in Madison at 46, and then look at it down here in Bowling Green at 63. Yeah. So it all comes down to where that cold front, or that warm front, is going to be located. So as we get through tomorrow afternoon, things start to ramp up a little bit. Now, I want to throw a note out here that not all data shows this, but the HRRR model, or the HRRR, you may hear us say it, it's really good at picking up storms like the day of or the next day and more high-resolution data. It's not gospel, but this one model is starting to show some chances for some strong storms, mainly tomorrow evening. And here's why. It's because this model has that warm front further to the north. And if it has it further to the north, then you're going to get a little warmer, which means you have more instability, which we'll talk about again here in a minute. So here's 7 o'clock, and you can see some of these storms, mainly west of 65. We're in the warm sector here, in between the warm front and the cold front. That is typically where you're going to get some storm activity. If you're north of the warm front, it's going to be mainly rain. But you see here, 7 o'clock, some of these storms are packing a little bit of a punch as they start pushing off to our east. There's 8, continues to move off to the east. There's 9, and I think if we were to see any strong storms tomorrow, we'd probably shut it down by 9 to 10. And the main time frame would be between around like 5 and 10 o'clock tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. And that warm front starts to pull back down because that low's moving right overhead. It's getting on out of here, and then we're done. Here's that second system, by the way. I'll just touch on it briefly since this video is mainly focused on tomorrow. Another warm front rolls through late Thursday, rolling into Friday, and then here we go again. More showers and storms Friday afternoon with some forcing on Friday evening that we will, again, have to at least keep an eye on. So we talked about what we need for severe weather, right? You have to have instability. How do you get instability? You have to have warmth. You have to have high dew points. So let's look at some numbers. These are some instability numbers, and I'll get out of the way for you again for tomorrow. You see there's a lot west of 65. It starts to creep its way back on in, and I'll kind of drag and fix this a little bit for you. So here's tomorrow morning. This is what I'm talking about, where I think our Kentucky counties have the best chance of seeing some of these actual thunderstorms heading into tomorrow afternoon. 580 units. It's not a ton, but it's enough this time of the year. But let's go to where some data is picking up on that severe potential. Here's 6 o'clock. Right when it's trying to show some of those stronger storms developing back into our area once again. And you'll notice that the numbers are there, but those brighter shadings are especially down toward our southwest. Let's creep another hour or so in. Here's 8 o'clock. The numbers aren't crazy, but they're just there. They're just enough. And especially down toward Breckenridge, Grayson County, Meade County, Taylor, Hart counties, down towards southwest Kentucky. We're bringing up that instability just a little bit. Storms obviously have to have that. And you don't have to have as much instability this time of the year like you do during the spring, like you do during the early summer. you get a couple hundred in there and it's good to go. But what we have to think about next is how much of this instability is actually at the surface. You have to have instability at the surface to get severe weather. Otherwise, all your instability is aloft, and that transforms, which makes the hail threat go up a little bit more. So when you look at data, a lot of the storm energy available, or the instability for tomorrow, is elevated. There is just enough at the surface to where we could get a couple strong storms tomorrow evening, but a lot of it's elevated, which is why a lot of the threat tomorrow, if we were to see a strong storm or two, is going to be large hail, is going to be damaging winds. That's the other part of what we need. We need the high dew points, right? If we have high dew points, then we have a good amount of storm energy available. So let's look at that next. So dew points this time of the year do not have to be ultra high. You don't have to have a dew point above like 70 to get severe weather. Typically above 60, even better 65, then that's what we're talking about. So as we creep toward tomorrow evening, here's 7 o'clock when data's trying to pick up on a couple strong storms. You can see, I'd almost call it like a little tongue here of that more moist air creeping in just barely into our southwest portions of our viewing area, all the way up to Louisville. So we have some higher moisture. We have a little bit more warmth, depending on where that warm front ends up. So we've got some storm energy available. It's not a ton, but it could be just enough. The most important part, really, with tomorrow is, do we have enough wind energy? So let's take a look at that. So we're going to be looking at winds here about a mile above the ground. So these are not surface winds. So when you see this, don't freak out. But I will say, we typically look for around 40 miles an hour or stronger at this level of the atmosphere. So you'll see we have that, and even more of it, a good amount of it. But this is at 11 a.m. tomorrow. So we could have storms early, like mid to late morning, early afternoon. Could still pack a little bit of a punch, mainly in our Kentucky counties where the warmth is available. But remember, the storm energy is limited north of that warm front, and that's why this warm front is so important. If it goes all the way up to Seymour, then we're talking about a better chance for strong storms. If it stays down near E-Town or Campbellsville, then probably not. So we have sufficient wind energy early in the day, but I want to focus on after we warm up. Look at the wind energy at 3 o'clock. There's a good amount of it that is sufficient for severe weather. Here comes 7 o'clock, when data is picking up on some strong storms in our area. And you see the best and the highest wind energy is exiting our area. And that's a good thing. That's why we do not have a higher severe risk for our area. But you'll see some of these numbers, they're still sufficient enough. 43 in Hardinsburg, 41 E-Town. Louisville is below that threshold. So we will have some sufficient wind energy for tomorrow. But I think the best wind energy that would bring us the highest chance for severe storms is going to be early in the day. So some of those late morning, early afternoon storms could still pack a little bit of a punch. We could still have a rogue strong storm here or there out of it. But in terms of organized severe weather, widespread severe weather, I still don't think this is that case. But we do have some sufficient wind energy through the day tomorrow, and those numbers come down the later we go as that front end system starts to roll through our area. All right, so what do we have for tomorrow? What's our low end risk? So we have a level 1 marginal risk out for tomorrow, which we typically don't show on TV, but I wanted to show a couple little areas where I think it may be notable. So the Storm Prediction Center has added in a 2% marginal risk for tornadoes tomorrow. Is this a high-end risk? No. Is it impossible to get a tornado tomorrow? Also no. It's all going to depend on where that warm front ends up. There's just enough spin. It's not a lot, but there's just enough spin in the atmosphere to where the Storm Prediction Center, and I would agree with them here, has added in this 2% risk. I would mainly focus right down in here. If we were to see anything like that, that would be where it would be. It's only a 2% risk, 2% of a tornado. That means, basically what that means, if you're wondering, is a 2% chance of a tornado forming within 50 miles of your home. If you live in that shaded area, so all of Metro Louisville, the Storm Prediction Center is essentially saying there's a 2% chance that a tornado could form within 50 miles. So it's a low-end risk, but it's not zero. Then I want to look at the damaging wind risk. It's a 5%. It comes up a little bit And just to note, the hail risk is the same, and that expands even further back into Illinois because of the strong updrafts. Because a lot of that storm energy that we just talked about, most of that is elevated. Not all of it, but most of it is elevated. So while some of these strong storms, if we see any, could be turning a little bit, a lot of that turning is aloft and not at the ground, which helps limit any tornado potential in our area. So our tornado potential for tomorrow is low. It's just not zero, and that's important to note. So we look at rain potential for the entire week, because remember I mentioned that other system that was rolling its way on through. And I think we're going to get a good amount of rain out of this. As I talked about, a lot of these are gully washers. So we're probably talking about 2 to 3 inches of rain in parts of our area by the time we get to Friday. Not all of it falling tomorrow, but by the time we get to Friday. So we'll go ahead and take some questions if anybody has any. And then we'll get back into the gist of things. Just want to come on here, give you a quick kind of update here. Since we have been added into that low and severe risk, which, by the way, I do agree with the Storm Prediction Center on that. So it's a level 1 out of 5. We typically don't even show it on TV, but I want to come in here and mention it because we have just enough wind energy and we have just enough storm energy available to where it's not impossible to get a couple strong storms out of it. So we'll pull in a couple questions here. Kelly Bowman says, I'm late. So Kelly, if you have a question, just let me know. We can go ahead and go through it, even if you are late. This is kind of the good thing about this is I'm not limited on time like I am on TV. So if you have questions, I can stay on here as long as I want and give you guys some pointers. Again, like and share the video. Share it with your family and friends. If they have plans tomorrow, especially if they're outdoors, you're going to want to make sure that they can come in here and ask some questions or go back and watch. Good morning, Allie in Russell County. What's up, Ron? Good morning. Good morning, Henry County. Melissa. Thanks for the updates, Destiny. I appreciate that. Greenville, Indiana. Joe on Facebook's watching from there as well. So again, I did want to mention that it is a low risk tomorrow. We're not talking about like bear down the hatches kind of thing. But I think it's worth noting because we're going to have a good amount of rain tomorrow, bare minimum, even if we don't see a strong storm. A lot of what's moving through is going to be pretty heavy. So I'll flip on back to that advanced track real quick in case some folks are joining in here late to show you what that could look like. So there comes that warm front. And again, wherever that ends up, it's going to be really important for tomorrow. A lot of data doesn't even have it getting up to Louisville. And if that's the case, our severe threat essentially goes out the window for Louisville. But if it comes up further, like this model is showing, then we would need to watch out for maybe a couple, a rogue 1 or 2 strong storms rolling into our area. But you see that front on this model, I have it coming up toward Louisville. But even a couple of these storms, I'm telling you, rolling through like 10, 11, noon, a couple of them south of the warm front could step back a little bit of a punch. Most of it's just going to be some heavy rain. But there's a lot of wind energy with it. But you see the temperatures are cool, so there's not a lot of storm energy available. So some gusty, heavy downpours early in the day is what's most likely. Heading into the afternoon, though, you see some of that warmth bringing its way in. And I think some of these temps are too cool. I think Louisville could get as warm as around 62 tomorrow, but it's going to come down to where that warm front ends up. I have our high tomorrow at 60, and that's still an if. Some of us in Indiana may not get out of the 40s tomorrow, and some of us in Southern Kentucky may get to the mid 60s. So it's going to be a little bit of a range depending on where we are. Good afternoon, Lottie on Facebook. So spin-ups are a very low chance tomorrow. They're just not zero. And that's why I still think it's worth mentioning. Is it's a non-zero threat, but it's very low. If we were to see a strong storm tomorrow, and again, that's not even a guarantee. If we were to see a strong storm tomorrow, it would mainly be for damaging wind gusts and some hail with some of these updrafts that could be in a couple of these storms. Doug on Facebook says strong storms for Greene County tomorrow. It is a potential since you're in our southern Kentucky communities in Greene County. You're probably going to be south of that warm front. Again, it could change. But if that warm front comes up like this model shows here, then I would say it's a potential for you tomorrow. It's a low-end threat. Again, we're talking like maybe a rogue strong storm or 2 for now. If data continues to show this over the next about 24 hours or so, then it may need to come up a little bit. But for now, it's a level 1 out of 5. But this is still impactful. I mean, the afternoon commute tomorrow is probably going to be a wet one. If you have plans tomorrow evening after like 6, Yeah, it's not going to be a fun one, especially if you're outside. It's going to have some heavy rain with it. Let's see. Amber on Facebook says, so Hardin County, Big Springs may get some bad weather. Again, Amber, it's a low threat. If you were to, I think it's a small window of when it's going to be possible. I'd say between around like 5 and 9, maybe 5 and 10 tomorrow, would be when that's going to happen if we were to even see that. But this is not going to be one of those cases, just to be clear, guys. This is not one of those cases where we're going to have like 3 or 4 tornado warnings at one time. That's not this case. And we may not even have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings. This may be like a rogue 1 or 2 that are possible as they roll into our area tomorrow, because not all data is in agreement yet. And that's what makes this a little bit more difficult to track and forecast, is not all data is in agreement with it. A couple models show a chance for some strong storms, but like, for instance, the NAM, which is a pretty reliable one, shows basically no chance for strong storms tomorrow and keeps the warm front down near like E-Town, and keeping Louisville in like the low 50s for tomorrow afternoon. So it's all going to come down to where that warm front ends up tomorrow. Good morning from Russell County. Good afternoon. What's the instability look like tomorrow? Kelly Bowman asks. So the instability for tomorrow, and I'll go ahead and I'll switch back to that real quick. The instability is not great, but this time of the year, you just don't need a ton of it. So that's what brings in the question. And a lot of the instability that I'm about to show you here for tomorrow is aloft. For severe storms, you have to have some storm energy at the surface. A lot of this is aloft, meaning your updrafts are really strong aloft, which is why we have a little bit of a hail threat for tomorrow, late evening, where any strong storms could develop. But a lot of this is aloft, so anything that tries to turn a little bit, most of that's going to be aloft, but there's just enough at the surface to where we could get some of these storms to pop off, enough to where we might be able to reach, that severe threshold tomorrow. So I'll give people a couple more minutes to come and ask a question. If not, I'll go ahead and hop off here. Just kind of quick midday update on some of these storms that are going to be rolling on into our area. I'll go back to that timeline once again. For those that are interested, you will not see any rain today. So if you have leaves in your gutters, dads, I'm talking to you. If you got leaves in your gutters after work, try to get, I know sunset's early, try to get it done. Because with the heavy rain that's coming, even if we don't see a strong storm, we still got some heavy rain coming. That's going to be a little bit of a problem. It'll probably clog your gutters a lot. For tomorrow. And tomorrow isn't the only rain chance. Remember, we've got this one moving through tomorrow, and then we've got more on the way Thursday and heading into Friday, which is what this system is here. That's going to bring in even more rain and some storms to our area again, mainly on Friday. So get out and clear those gutters out. If you haven't, I'm preaching to the choir because I still have to do it. And I'll plan on doing that when I get home this afternoon. So, yeah, but for now, we just have a level 1 out of 5, very low end severe chance for tomorrow. But I figured it's worth coming on here and mentioning, since it's early in the week. A lot of people have plans Tuesday afternoon, got kids' sports, things going on like that. So it is worth at least mentioning for tomorrow afternoon. Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that on Facebook. All right, guys, again, you can share the video, friends, family, hit like. You can follow me on Facebook if you're watching on the WDRB Facebook or YouTube page right now. You can follow me on Facebook, Meteorologist Bryce Jones. My profile picture's me, so you know that it's me. You can ask me questions. We'll do more live videos over the next few days since we have such an active week ahead of us and a lot of rain on the way and some decent storm changes in there. We'll do more videos. We'll probably do another one tomorrow. I think Mark Weinberg and I might do one together tomorrow if you're interested in that and seeing his analysis on that as well. So thank you guys for joining. Again, if you have any questions, Meteorologist Bryce Jones on Facebook, you can find me there, and we'll be live on WDRB News starting at 4.